Number 8, train yourself to habitually work fast, keep deadlines, and keep commitments. And I gave you guys an ass chewing the other day about getting in the room on time. And again, like I said, it doesn't matter to me. I'm going to deliver this presentation. I've already gotten paid. But it matters to you because every time you miss a commitment to yourself that you make, you train yourself that you don't keep your commitments. And it's in the little things. Like I said yesterday, Harv Eker, one of my favorite quotes from him is, how you do anything is how you do everything. And if you're going to be 5 minutes late getting in the room, you're going to be 5 minutes late getting your newsletter done. You're going to be 5 minutes late getting the website done. You're going to be 5 minutes late in organizing or systematizing or planning or anything else. And you can't get it all done. Guys, I don't get it all done. I mean, that's not the goal. And actually, getting it all done is a false god. You can't get everything done. You shouldn't even try to get everything done. You should try and get the most important results. But the point is, you've got to train yourself, because winning is a habit. Guess what? So is losing. You know, when people go on diets, the reason they give up is, what do they say? I've tried everything. You haven't tried everything. If you tried everything and followed it through, you would have gotten the result. Because how many diets do you need to lose weight? How many different diets do you need to lose weight? The one you'll do. People ask me all the time, Robin, what's the best exercise for my abs, for my butt, for my legs, for my whatever? You know what I always used to say to people? It's the one you'll do. That's the best exercise. All right, so you've got to train yourself to keep deadlines, and the most important ones to keep are the ones that nobody else will hold you accountable for. It's that unreasonableness. It's unreasonable to say, I'm always on time, I'm punctual for everything in my life. That's unreasonable. But if you make it a must and not a should, then all of a sudden you keep your commitments. It's the tiny things. It's the broken windows. You guys have heard me talk about the broken windows concept. There's a book. It's called Broken Windows, Broken Business. It's a fantastic book. You ought to read it. And it's essentially based on Rudy Giuliani's, the mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani. When he became mayor, crime was overrun in New York. And one of the things Rudy said he was going to do is he was going to have a zero tolerance policy, meaning they treated jaywalkers as severely as they treated someone who created murder, per se. And at first, there was this huge pushback on it. Everyone said, well, how can you possibly do that? It's unreasonable. It is, how can you have our police force cracking down on jaywalkers and people who are hanging out, like homeless people, like pilfering on the street, when we've got murders happening? We need to put all our efforts on the murders. We need to put it there. And he says, no. He says, you know what? Because we're going to send a clear message that crime will not be tolerated. And I forget exactly what the percentage is, but his theory proved absolutely correct. And it's based on, there's a criminologist, and I can't remember who came up with this theory of the broken windows. And they studied it, and they found that in a major city, if there is a building that is in vacant and, let's say, falling into disrepair, and a kid comes along or someone comes along and breaks a window, if that window doesn't get repaired immediately, pretty soon all the windows start to get broken. All right? So that's the whole concept of the book. What the lesson here is the tiny things that you will not tolerate. The standards you set end up making the bigger things happen. So by cracking down on jaywalkers and having people know that the police were serious about enforcing the law, not kind of loose about those things, they were serious. Every crime was a crime. All of a sudden, the crime rate dropped significantly. So in your business, these are the tiny little broken windows that you need to fix. Nito Cobain, those of you who were with me at High Point, he showed us the transformation of High Point. What did he say? It was $700 million he put into High Point, was it? $700 million. And he showed us pictures of when he got on campus, and he talked about a thing called deferred maintenance. And he says, you know, most universities, and he showed us the dorm rooms and the signs and the disrepair and the cracks in the sidewalks and the trash. And it wasn't terrible. I mean, some of it was terrible, but he said, this is deferred maintenance. These are things that we defer to put investments in because, we need to put money on more important things, right? So the signs on the dorm room, even if they're just written in, like someone put up a a piece of cardboard and taped it to the wall and wrote their dorm number on it, that's fine. We don't need to focus on that. We need to focus on bigger things. That's the way the university was run before he got there. Nito said, that can't be acceptable. If we're going to create a culture here, if we're going to create something unique, we need to do it from our toes all the way up. It's called intentional congruency. And so when you train yourself to get yourself to do everything punctually and on time, it is an unreasonable demand, but it makes everything else work because it's an integrity within yourself. And next thing you know, your team will follow. Because if you can't show up for meetings on time and do what you say you're going to do on time, how can you expect them to do it? How can you look them in the eye and say, give your absolute best? I want you to bring your A game every single day. I want you to come here passionate to work. I want you to come here on fire. I want you to come here with your great ideas. I want you to show up energized every day when you're not. And I often hear people say, well, hiring employees and finding good people is the hardest thing. How many of you would agree with that? All right. Let me ask you this. How do you get an A player to come work for a B player? You don't. You don't. You've got to be the A+ player. You've got to lead by example. The fish stinks from the head down. And so this training yourself to habitually focus, orange cone time, is really important. And it's discipline. Like Tom Hopkins said earlier in the conference, it's the ability to get yourself to do the things you know you should do when the will and the motivation to do it is gone. And you really need to do that.